Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. Israel strikes at the Houthis in Yemen as the Iranian proxy continues to launch near daily ballistic missiles at Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asserts Jerusalem's resolve to decisively defeat Hamas. Tens of thousands of Israelis flood the streets of Israeli cities, calling on the government to end the war. Iran's continued attacks on Israel by means of its proxy in Yemen will not go unanswered. Jerusalem regards the Ayatollah regime in Tehran, which directs and equips its proxies to attack Israeli territory, no less responsible for the continued belligerence than the proxy which pulls the trigger. However, while Israel maintains the right to respond to the near-daily attacks at a time and place of its choosing, Iran's Yemeni proxy Ansar Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe, is evidently facing escalatory pressure, with the latest including a devastating Israeli naval attack against energy infrastructure near Yemen's capital Sana'a, which provides electricity to strategic installations belonging to the Houthis.
تم الاعتداء علينا في اليوم الساعة 4 فجرا بغارتين عدوانيتين من العدو الإسرائيلي من مائدة إلى تدمير المحطة، وذلك هو من أجل موقفنا المتضامن مع غزة وأطفال غزة، وإن شاء الله لن نترك القضية حتى ولو عملوا ما عملوا، وإن شاء الله إن احنا مواصلين على هذا الدرب حتى لو فنينا كامل.
It is important to know that over the past week, including yesterday afternoon, the Houthis launched several ballistic missiles toward Israeli territory, which according to the terror group spokesman Yahya Sarrier, it aimed to strike at Ben Gurion International Airport. Thankfully, Israel's aerial defense array, in close cooperation with U.S. Central Command, has managed to intercept all of the incoming projectiles. Nevertheless, Israeli retaliatory strikes against strategic Houthi infrastructure has severely crippled Yemen, with the United Nations urging the Iranian proxy to end its belligerent practices. It is important to highlight that the United Nations Security Council held a meeting on Yemen, during the course of which the UN Secretary General's envoy to Yemen, Hans Grünberg, highlighted that the continued Houthi attacks against Israel have led to the near-complete destruction of Yemen's West Coast port facilities.
For Yemen to have a real chance for peace, it must be protected from being further drawn into the ongoing regional turmoil emanating out of the war in Gaza. Therefore, the strikes against civilian ships in the Red Sea must cease. The missile attacks against Israel and the subsequent Israeli strikes on Yemen must also come to an end. Beyond complicating the mediation space for a long-term settlement of the conflict in Yemen, this escalation has led to the near destruction of Yemen's West Coast port facilities. This is placing immense strain on Yemen's vital infrastructure.
In contrast to envoy Grünberg, who sought to avoid laying full blame on the Iranian proxy for Yemen's state of affairs, the Yemeni ambassador to the world body insisted that the Houthis are deliberately obstructing all efforts to reach a political solution to Yemen's domestic woes.
يقف اليمن اليوم على أعتاب مرحلة صعبة بعد 11 عاما من الحرب التي شنتها الميليشيات الحوثية الإرهابية على الدولة ومؤسساتها الدستورية، وتدمير آمال وتطلعات شعب يتوق إلى الأمن والاستقرار والكرامة والعدالة والمواطنة المتساوية، وبناء دولة مدنية تليق بتاريخه العريق ومكانته في المنطقة. ورغم الجهود التي يبذلها مجلس القيادة الرئاسي والحكومة اليمنية للدفع بمسار السلام والتعاطي الإيجابي مع الجهود والمساعي الإقليمية والدولية وجهود الأمم المتحدة عبر مبعوثها الخاص لليمن لإنهاء هذا الصراع، إلا أن الميليشيات الحوثية مستمرة في عرقلة كل تلك الجهود وتقويض أي فرص للسلام.
Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the separate fronts which Israel is forced to engage in.
ביממה האחרונה חיל הים תקף תחנות כוח בתימן, חיילי צה"ל תקפו בזיתון וחיסלו עשרות מחבלים ברצועת עזה, וחיל האוויר תקף בכירי מחבלים של חיזבאללה ופעילי משגרים בלבנון.
Netanyahu continued by asserting that Israeli strikes on Hezbollah in Lebanon are completely in line with the armistice that was implemented on November 27 of last year, amid claims by Lebanese authorities that Israel was violating the ceasefire.
אני מבקש להדגיש, הפעילות שלנו בלבנון היא בהתאם להסכם הפסקת האש. בהתאם להסכם הפסקת האש. ולפי ההסכם הזה, אנחנו אוכפים באש כל הפרה וכל ניסיון של התחמשות מצד חיזבאללה.
It is important to know that U.S. Special Envoy to Lebanon and Syria, Tom Barrack, who also serves as ambassador to Turkey, met with Lebanon's president, Joseph Aoun, early this morning, after which he claimed that both sides had violated the ceasefire and that no new agreement was reached between Jerusalem and Washington.
There has been no American proposal to Israel. They have not negated anything. What we've been doing is discussing, first of all, with the Lebanese government what their position is. We're in the process of now discussing with Israel what their position is. So there's no violation other than the violations that have continued since the November 2024 agreement of cessation of hostilities, in which each party is saying it's the other one. So what we're trying to do is to solve an agreement that already has been violated. We don't have a new agreement, and our intent is not to create a new agreement that's going to be violated.
The American envoy, whose rhetoric has been increasingly hostile towards Israel, continued by claiming that the Lebanese government, which instructed its military to come up with a plan to disarm Hezbollah, made the first move, and that now he expects Israel to reciprocate without giving any details of what that actually means.
I mean, there's always a step-by-step approach, but I think the Lebanese government has done their part. They've taken the first step. Now what we need is Israel to comply with that equal handshake.
Returning to Jerusalem, where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also addressed the latest vis-a-vis the Gaza Strip.
השליטה הביטחונית המתמשכת שלנו ברצועה זהו רק אחד מהתנאים שלנו לסיום המלחמה, תנאים שהחמאס מסרב לקבלם. אנחנו עומדים על כך לא רק שהחמאס יפורק מנשקו, אנחנו עומדים על כך גם שישראל תאכוף את פירוז הרצועה לאורך זמן על ידי פעולה רצופה נגד כל ניסיון של התחמשות והתארגנות של כל גורם טרור שהוא. עכשיו החמאס דורש את ההפך הגמור. הוא רוצה שנצא לגמרי מכל הרצועה, מצפון הרצועה, מדרום הרצועה, מציר פילדלפי שמונע הברחות ומהפרימטר הביטחוני שמגן על יישובינו. וכך הוא יוכל להתארגן מחדש, להתחמש מחדש ולתקוף אותנו מחדש. החמאס יוכל לבוא שוב עם הטנדרים שלו ועם המרצחים המפלצתיים שלו עד הגדר ולאיים מחדש על ניר עוז, על כיסופים, על סדרות. אלה שקוראים היום לסיום המלחמה ללא הכרעת החמאס, לא רק שמקשיחים את עמדת החמאס ומרחיקים את שחרור חטופינו, הם גם מבטיחים שזוועות ה7 באוקטובר יחזרו על עצמם שוב ושוב, ושבנינו ובנותינו יצטרכו להילחם שוב ושוב במלחמת אין קץ. לכן, גם כדי לקדם את שחרור חטופינו, וגם כדי להבטיח שעזה לא תהווה יותר איום על ישראל, עלינו להשלים את המלאכה ולהכריע את החמאס. זוהי בדיוק החלטת הקבינט שהתקבלה בשבוע שעבר. אנחנו נחושים לממשה, ואני מחזק את צה"ל, את כוחות הביטחון ואת אזרחי ישראל. יחד השגנו הישגים כבירים על אויבינו בכל החזיתות. יחד אנחנו נלחמים, ובעזרת השם, יחד נשלים את הניצחון ונסיים את המלחמה.
Netanyahu made these remarks as tens of thousands of Israelis flooded the streets of Israeli towns and cities yesterday, calling on the government to reach an accommodation with Hamas that would bring about an end to the war.
I wish this day will move something, will bring some sort of agreement, and I just want the war to be over. I don't want any more death, any more suffering. I think we had enough.
To put some pressure on everyone to get into an agreement, to get into a hostage agreement, and to get our hostages back. And whatever we can do, we'll do.
It is important to point out that, in contrast to public statements and media reports, the majority of highways were not blocked during the day, including in Tel Aviv's main Ayalon highway, with far less traffic recorded than usual. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. Let us not forget the 50 hostages, to include up to 20 who are believed to be alive, who've now endured 682 days in brutal Hamas captivity in the Gaza Strip. Please pray for the hostages, including their families, and pray also for the peace of Jerusalem and the salvation of Israel. And separately, if you're blessed by our daily programs, since TV7 Israel is exclusively donation-based, any contribution will help us share the truth here from Jerusalem. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you a Shavua Mevorach. God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.